Welcome to day 29 of painting quick and easy watercolor skies, and here is our painting for the day. It's a gorgeous evening by a lakeside. Now we'll start by having a look at the colors we will need. For this one, I haven't used any reference image. I just tried it out from my imagination. Now the first color you will need is a purple, which is the one I'll be using for the sky as well as for the water. I have mixed and created that color. It is actually a mix of violet and rose. So I'm going to pick some violet first. Now into this, I'm adding some permanent rose. If you have a similar color with you, you can use it directly. This one is a very bright purple. So that's the color I'll be using for the sky as well as for the lake. I will swatch it out. It's a beautiful color, more like a grape wine. Now the second color you will need is any pink. The one I'm going to use is Brilliant Pink from Shinhan. I have been using this color for other paintings as well. So I'm guessing you guys are familiar with this color. That's the second color I'll be using for the sky. Now along with this, you will also need some pastel orange towards the center. It's a light pastel orange. So those are the three colors I will be using for the sky. Now along with this, for the rest of the details, you will also need some Payne's Grey for the grassy lines at the bottom as well as for the silhouette at the background. Okay, so that summarizes all the colors you will need for today's painting. You will need a purple, a pink, a pastel orange, and some Payne's Grey. Okay, so keep all the colors ready on your palette. Now before we start, let's have a quick look at the steps involved. As usual, we will start with the sky. For this one, I'll go from bottom towards the top. Towards the bottom, I will use pink first. Over here, then I will go with pastel orange, then some rose again, and then purple. And then onto that layer, we will be adding some clouds using purple. So that's how the sky is going to be. Then we will go with the lake. We will use purple and pink for the base layer. Then using a darker tone, we will add some lines and textures onto that layer. And finally, we will go with the silhouette and also these grassy pattern. Okay, so that's how the painting is going to be. It's a gorgeous color combination and it's an easy one. If you want to add more clouds, you could do that. So keep that in mind as you're painting. I'll be just adding a few. Okay, now let's give it a try. Let's begin with the sketch. All I have to add is just a horizon line. So add a straight line a little below the center of your paper and that's it. Now let's prepare the colors. So for the sky, you will need three colors. We already had a look at them. We will need some pink, violet and rose. We'll be mixing these two together. Then along with that, you will also need some pastel orange. So these are the colors you will need for the sky. Keep them ready on your palette before you start. Once you have them ready, as usual, apply a clean coat of water onto the entire sky. Don't add a lot. We only need a shiny coat of water. And before you apply water, make sure your brush is clean. Okay, so my sky is evenly wet. Now to apply the paint, you can either go with a flat brush or a round brush. I'm going to use a flat brush today. This one is 1/2 inch flat brush. And I'm making sure it is clean first. Then I'm picking some pink. Now I'm going to apply this color along the horizon line. If you don't have pastel pink, you can just add some white watercolor with carmine or crimson or even red. And you can easily create a similar color. So don't worry if you don't have a pastel pink. So that is Brilliant Pink. Next we can go with our second color, which is a pastel orange. You don't need to clean your brush, pick it up directly. Now I'm going to apply this color right next to pink. And I will blend them. So at the bottom, we have a pastel pink. Then we have some pastel orange. Now I'm again going to go back with pink. And I will apply that next. Now we have some more space on the top. And I'm going to clean my brush before I go with the next color. Now the final color we will need is a mix of violet and rose. We need a bright rosy purple. So mix up some rose and violet together and create a similar color. If you don't have rose, go with crimson. You can just mix that with violet. Okay, so that's the color I'm going with. Now I'm applying that onto the remaining area. And then I will blend that with pink. The color can be a bit different, that's totally fine. It will all depend on the colors you're mixing together, so don't worry about it at all. It might be a bit different and that's totally fine. It is not going to affect your painting. Now I'm going to blend that with pink. But looks like my brush is quite dirty. I'm cleaning that. dabbing it on a paper towel. Then I'm going back with pink and I'm trying to blend that again. Okay. So that's our base layer. I'm very much happy with the colors and the blend. It looks quite good enough already. But I want to add some clouds onto this background. So I'm going to go with a smaller brush, a smaller round brush. And the color I'm going to go with is the same purple I created earlier. It's a mix of violet and permanent rose. If your paint is too watery, dab it on a paper towel before you add these lines onto your background. I'm adding few lines along the bottom. I'm adding them only over here. The rest I'm just leaving it as it is. I want that blend of colors. I don't want to make it too dramatic. Okay. I will pick some rose as it is. And I will add a few lines using rose as well, just to give it more interesting look. I want to bring in some more colors here. So first I added a line using purple. Now I'm using rose. Okay. If you want to add some more lines, you could do that. Whether using purple or rose, it's totally your choice. But don't add a lot and go the similar tonal value. Don't make it too bold and prominent. If you want to add few more lines onto the top, you could do that. I'm actually quite impressed with the way it is looking, so I don't want to add any more lines. Let it be a soft, simple sky, but I will just blend this part. And also there is some paint missing on the top. I will smudge that as well. Over here and also on the left side. And that's it. So that's how my sky has turned out. I'm really happy with the colors and the clouds. Now let's leave it for drying. The colors are looking so good. I'm really happy with it. Next we can paint the lake. And for that as well, I'm going to go with similar colors. First I think I will go with purple. The same purple we use for the top of the sky. We'll start with that color. Then towards the bottom, we will add some pink. And we'll go for a blend of those two colors first. And then gradually we can introduce some textures. So mix up some violet and rose together. Or just go with any color you were using before. And apply that color along the horizon. That's the color I'm going with. I'm applying that along the horizon line. We need a straight horizon line here. So be careful when you're applying the paint. And the brush I'm using here is size number 8. Go with any of your medium size brush. Okay. I will add in some more. Then I will switch to pink. I cannot tell you how much I love the sky. Looking at it, I'm really proud. Anyway, I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going back with pink. And onto the leftover area, I'm going to add this color. And I will roughly blend that with purple. Okay, so this is just the base layer. We'll have to introduce more darker tones and more textures onto it. While it is still wet, then at the end, when everything has dried up completely, we will add another set of lines. Okay, so the base layer is ready. I will just smudge the colors again. Looks like there is a lot of pink. Maybe better if I use a smaller brush. Okay, so this one is size number 6. Now I'm adding some lines using a darker tone onto that wet background. My background is quite watery, especially over here. Anyway, I'm just pushing and pulling the color into each other to bring in some textures. Okay, so just like I said earlier, the colors can be a bit different. Don't worry about it. Or it can even be a totally different color palette. Okay, so that is the base layer. It looks quite decent now. Earlier it wasn't. Now I'm going to pick up more darker tone and I'm going to add some more lines onto the background. The ones I added earlier is not visible at all. So let's add in a few more and then we can leave it for drying. Okay, so on the top we already have a darker tone. You can introduce these lines towards the bottom where you have pink. But don't cover it up entirely. We need to see those background colors as well to give it a more realistic feel. So be very mindful when you're adding the lines. And also make sure your paint is not too watery. If it's too watery, dab it on a paper towel before you add in these lines. Otherwise, they will spread a lot and everything will turn into purple. Okay, so that is it. Now let's leave it for drying. The base layer has dried up. Now we're going to add some more textures onto this. And after that, we can go with the final details. So I'm going to go back with the same color, mix of violet and rose. I'm using a medium tone. And what I'm going to do is I'll simply add some lines onto the background. They can be of any length, but make sure they're not too thick and too dark. You can go with a similar tonal value. Now simply keep on adding some lines onto the background to bring in some water-like textures. Okay? When you're adding them, leave some gap in between. Don't add a lot of them close to each other. Now keep on adding these lines until you hit the bottom. The brush I'm using here is size number 6. It has got a nice pointed tip. Try to go with a similar brush. It can be a smaller brush or any brush with a pointed tip. See that? The lines can be long or short, it doesn't matter. But please use a medium tone. Okay, so that's how it has turned out. We have added some lines onto the background and it has got some nice texture. If you want to add some more using a darker tone, you can do that. Earlier we used a medium tone. Now the color I'm using is a bit more darker than earlier. And I'm adding few lines in between to bring in more realistic character. See that? Only a few. Majority of the lines are using a medium tone. I'm adding only a few using a darker tone. Okay, so that's done too. Now we have only task left, which is to add the silhouette. We will add some landscape far away and we'll also add some details at the bottom. And for those two tasks, I'm using a darker tone of Payne's Grey. First, I will add a rough shape along the horizon line towards the right side. You can choose to go with any side, or you can add them along the entire horizon line. I'm adding that only over here. The color is more like black because it's a darker tone of Payne's Grey. So first, I will add a very rough shade there. Then we can add some teeny tiny patterns onto the top to give it more character. Right now, it's a very rough shape. Okay, so that's the shape I have gone in with. Now, onto the top, I'm adding some teeny tiny patterns using the tip of my brush to make it look like it's a landscape. It could be some trees and some plants. So using the tip of your brush, add in some teeny tiny patterns and finish up that entire line. So this one is super far. You don't need to put a lot of effort here. Just add some tiny dots and some tiny patterns. Add them close to each other so that it will look like a landscape. So once we're done with this, we need to add some grassy lines at the bottom as well. That is the last task. It is actually the silhouette which brings in a contrast and create a complete look to our painting. Otherwise, it will look quite plain and empty. So this silhouette is really important. It can be any silhouette, it doesn't need to be the same detail. Anyway, next I'm going to add some grassy line at the bottom using the same brush. These are just some freehand lines. You can add them in any direction and they can be of any length as well. And also you can add as many as you want. You can fill up the entire bottom line. I'm going to add them only onto the right side because this side is more convenient for me. Please make sure to go with a smaller brush or a brush with a pointed tip for this step. Otherwise, the lines will be very thick. Okay? It will look more beautiful if the lines are thin and delicate. So that's something you have to be careful about. Now, I'm going to quickly add some more lines onto the right side. I think I've added enough. Now I'm going to fill up these gaps in between, especially at the bottom. There is a lot of gap, so I'm just covering them up by adding more lines. On the top, they have to look like individual lines, but at the bottom, to give it more dense and thicker look, we can fill up those extra gaps. And that is exactly what I'm doing right now. And maybe along with that, you can introduce few more lines. Only if you feel like. Maybe I will add a few more. And with that, I will call it done. Otherwise, I might go overboard. I always have the habit of overdoing things, which I don't want to do with this painting because I'm really happy with the way it is progressing. So I'm just adding some extra lines, some longer one, and maybe a few more onto the left. So at any point, if you're happy with your painting, you can call it done. You don't need to add more lines just because I'm doing it. As I said earlier, I have the habit of overdoing things. For me to get that sense of satisfaction, it is quite difficult. So to make myself feel better, I will add some more lines to the left side. It's the same kind of lines, they are just some freehand lines. Some of them are short, some of them are long, some of them are more curvy. Okay, I think that's good enough. I should call it done before I ruin it. If you want to add some birds onto the sky, I think even that will be a good addition. Anyway, that's all for the day. I'm gonna call it done and I'm going to peel off the masking tape. And here is our lovely sunset by the lake. The colors are really pretty, especially that cloud and the sky. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be back here soon with the final sky of the series.